We're going to start in one minute while everyone settles down. And before we start, I'm going to tell you a short story. So my wife's a real taskmaster. She, from the age of like 14, makes sure that our kids have no fun in the summer. They have to work. They literally have to get a job. And so if any of you who has a pretty little blue box tied with a white ribbon with a picture frame in it, I want you to know that my 17-year-old son tied every one of those ribbons. And some of you guys, my wife and I have Sunday night dinners throughout the year for students at our house. Some of you are going to meet him. His name is Israel. He's 18 years old, and he's very cranky. So if you see him, you tell him that I gave him credit publicly for the ribbons. So my name is David Muller. I'm the Dean for Medical Education at this incredible medical school. I want to welcome all of you to the 21st Annual White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2022. We have a very, very full program, and we love to be on time. So I'm going to, without any further ado, introduce to you Mr. Peter May, Chairman of the Boards of Trustees of the Mount Sinai Health System.
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, everybody. This is always one of my favorite events. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to welcome the class of 2022 to the Mount Sinai family. And yes, I say family because the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, we're all part of an extended family. That means we expect you not only to care for your patients, but also for each other, as you experience the rigors of medical school. You're receiving your white coats today rather than in 3 or 4 years, as a number of other medical schools do, because clinical training at Mount Sinai starts right at the very beginning of your medical education. The next 4 years will be a very exciting journey. The Icahn School of Medicine this year is celebrating its 50th anniversary. It's really quite remarkable. This is one of 2 medical schools in the United States that was founded by a hospital. And it was founded by a hospital because for many years, Mount Sinai, which was founded in 1852, did an enormous amount of research and was able to attract doctors who wanted to create tomorrow's medicine. But as medical technology got more complicated, it became necessary for us to create a medical school. And the board got together not that long ago in the history of schools and started the medical school at Mount Sinai. And the evolution of that school is really remarkable. And one of its great strengths is the fact that we're only in one business. We're in the healthcare and research business, which means that there's no university that has other priorities. And what Mount Sinai School of Medicine, the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, and the Mount Sinai Health System cares about is creating great research that gets applied to the school, to the clinic as quickly as possible to help our patients. So Mount Sinai Medical School today is incredibly dynamic, and it's creative and literally brimming with innovation. Part of that's due to the diverse background of the students. Many of you sitting here today didn't start out with a background in biology or chemistry, but many of you have backgrounds in English, history, math, all kinds of other disciplines as a result of the FlexMed program. And that gives a different perspective to a lot of different people as they think about how to approach medicine. You're all going to be immersed in an environment of rich resources that will stimulate you as never before. There'll be opportunities for you to learn from and work with some of the most creative and forward-thinking scientists and physicians in medicine. Brilliant professors in computer science, in mathematics, in engineering, as well as the life sciences. That's because interdisciplinary collaboration is a key to extending the boundaries of what modern medicine can achieve. 50 years ago, at the dedication of this school, Nobel laureate Francis Crick predicted that an enormous development in basic biological research that he said would have a considerable impact on Mount Sinai students would be the future. He certainly was on target in that prediction. Mount Sinai's laboratories are humming with work that lead to new standards of care. For example, our researchers are employing machine learning algorithms for analyzing large-scale molecular data sets to better identify genetic mutations and pinpoint disease. That's enabling Mount Sinai to achieve the promise of precision medicine. Whatever your medical interests, Mount Sinai offers the opportunity to pursue them, whether here on campus or in one of our domestic or international academic partners. Beyond the classroom, you'll also be able to contribute to our surrounding communities. The student-run East Harlem Outreach Program, the partnership, offers free care for hundreds of East Harlem residents. It's the first and largest student-run program of its kind in the country. Medical students also partner with other community agencies in the neighborhood as part of the Mount Sinai Human Rights and Social Justice Program. We want you to bring positive change to the world, whether that's by providing health care for impoverished, achieving breakthroughs in the laboratory, or devising new ways to deliver quality care more efficiently. The physician's white coat that you will soon be wearing is a symbol of commitment and responsibility to always use your medical knowledge to the best of your ability, with compassion and high ethical standards. So wear it proudly and make the Mount Sinai family proud of your diligence in the study and practice of medicine. Now, for a brief personal note, this is my last year as chairman of Mount Sinai Health System. It's been 17 years. When I started, we were an excellent community hospital with a decent medical school, but not in very good financial shape. Today, we are the largest healthcare system in New York, with 8 hospitals and one of the best medical schools in the country, and very strong financially. Our research enterprise was recently ranked by Nature magazine as one of the top 10 research organizations in the world. We're very proud of what Mount Sinai has accomplished and its position today in the medical world. And we know that you, as our new students, will allow us to continue to grow and rise to even greater heights. I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Peter. I'm Ken Davis. I'm the CEO of the healthcare system. Good afternoon, everyone. This is, of course, a special day for you, for your families, and for our faculty and our staff. Today, we recognize all your hard work, all your long hours of study, and all your accomplishments. Today's the day to talk about the future, but I want to begin by talking a little bit about your past and my past. Specifically, why all of you, or at least most of you, chose this medical school, and why I, nearly 49 years ago, also chose this medical school. When I was deciding where to apply, a friend of mine who had graduated a year earlier from my college came and said to me, "You ought to think about this new medical school, Mount Sinai. It's a special place. There's something different about it." And in fact, there was something different about it. So I entered the school's second class. We weren't in a nice room like this. In fact, there was no Annenberg building. There was no Hess building. There was no Icahn building. We met in a converted garage, a converted bus station. But the medical school was unique. As my friend said, it was different. As Peter said, it was a medical school that was born not out of a university, but a medical school that was born out of a hospital. And indeed, as Peter said, it was one of the very few that had ever done that. This new medical school would not have to share its resources with a law school, an engineering school, an undergraduate campus, or a business school. Here, we were the only students. It was very clear, even from the admissions interview, that teaching us was the priority of this place. But we were also aware of the fact that we were part of a great hospital, a hospital with an incredible tradition, surrounded by famous doctors and brilliant medical researchers. Today, nearly 50 years later, you students remain our priority. Our purpose is to make you great. Our legacy of clinical excellence and innovation rests with you. And how can we make you great? We can do that by helping you become passionate about some aspect of medicine, some aspect of medical practice, some aspect of medical research. Finding your passion is our collective job, and finding your passion will help you to be great. That's equally true in the operating room, in the exam room, or in the research lab. Now that you're here, I encourage you to find one area of medicine that you really love. Find what inspires you. Find what you truly enjoy. As Steve Jobs said, your work is going to fill a large part of your life. The only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. We're here to help you do that. We're not here to burn you out. We're not here to force you into some ruthless competition between you and your peers. We encourage working in groups and group learning. You're all smart enough. You all have worked hard enough. You all work hard enough. You need to take time and get it right. As you may know, some schools are thinking of a 3-year curriculum. Not us. We want to give you the time to find what you love. We want you to explore the many opportunities offered in the special environment that is this place. So take a deep breath. Relax. Our goal is to maximize your potential. We can best do that by giving you time and an environment to find your passion. That's our mission. But we have another mission, and Peter alluded to it, another passion, a passion that's over 165 years old, and that's a commitment to serve everyone. It started in 1852 when our hospital was founded, when no hospital in New York would admit indigent Jews. We haven't forgotten that is our core value. That value, that passion to serve everyone is as strong as ever. And you can see it every day at Mount Sinai. We sit at the intersection of the two most economically diverse adjacent zip codes in America. To our south, the individual median income exceeds $100,000 a year. To our north, it's less than $30,000 a year. We welcome everyone. I'm sure that in the short time you've been here, as you looked around the hospital, you've seen the faces of New York. You've seen the faces of America. You see it in the patients we treat, and you see it in the workforce that serves our patients. So the white coats you wear, that you'll wear to Mount Sinai, are more than just a symbol that you're part of a healing profession. When you put on those coats, you join our community in trying, to the best of our ability, and at a very challenging time, to uphold our commitment to access for all. Each one of you is here for a reason. Each one of you has earned your place in this school and earned your white coat. As your proud parents know, you deserve to be here. You have the capacity to be great. Let today be remembered as the day you committed to achieve that greatness, by searching for that part of this worthy profession that lights an unquenchable fire in you. That takes time. A time we'll give you, a time that starts now. Thank you. I now want to introduce the most accomplished dean in America today, and my great good friend, Dennis China.
Class of 2022, family and friends, faculty, members of the Mount Sinai Boards of Trustees, welcome to our annual White Coat ceremony. The presentation of the White Coat to our medical students at the onset of their training is symbolic of starting the journey from medical student to physician. I want to begin by introducing you to the class of 2022. You are among the most talented medical school classes in the world. And I'm going to prove that right now. You come to Mount Sinai from the top undergraduate colleges and universities, and you have an average GPA of 3.84. I graduated 45 years ago. I was a 3.65. So I probably wouldn't be in your seat. Your MCAT scores are as high as any other students in the country, but you are much more than that. It is not the academic accolades that convince me to know that in you, you're going to change the world. It is the fire in your eyes and the compassion in your hearts that tell me how much you can accomplish. Your achievement today go beyond your commitment to medicine and reveal the content of your character and your unique talents. Your class is diverse intellectually, with college majors in the sciences that include evolutionary biology, molecular biology, mathematics, chemistry, computer science, neuroscience, psychology, anthropology, economics, and political science. And some of you have majored in the humanities, including history, art, Italian literature, the classics, French, Asian, and African American studies. What else have you done? You are dancers, you are musicians, opera singers, photographers, yoga instructors, poets. One of you is a glass blower. Another is an auto mechanic. The college athletes in football, softball, rowing, hockey, soccer, tennis, and swimming. You have an alpine ski racer and scuba divers in your class. One of you served as a combat medic in the United States Army for years. And another was recently commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. Many of you have done groundbreaking research in cancer and heart disease, infectious disease, brain diseases, and other conditions. And you are committed to social justice, which, as you heard, is very important to the ethics at Mount Sinai. Some of you became motivated to become physicians based on illnesses in your family. And some of you have compelling personal stories of resilience that I want to hear more about. Let's recognize the accomplishments of the class of 2022. This ceremony is important because it provides the opportunity to reflect what it means to don the white coat and join the Order of Physicians. I can tell you that it does not represent or symbolize an induction into a class of elite academics. Rather, because an education at Mount Sinai is a great privilege, it comes with serious responsibilities. Today, with these my welcoming words to you, I wish to speak about some of the most important obligations. The work ahead. The world in which you're about to immerse yourself hungers for new ideas and solutions. We need a more complete understanding of the human body. We need breakthroughs to fight disease, alleviate suffering, and achieve meaningful social justice. In other words, we need answers to many urgent and long-standing questions that bear on the lives of your patients. With the support of your teachers, you will tackle this important work at Mount Sinai. The experiences you have here will shape the rest of your lives, and you will have opportunities that others can only dream of. As I mentioned, many of you decided to become physicians because of illnesses suffered by members of your own family, such as cancer and heart disease and infectious disease and neurological and psychiatric disease. I can empathize with that, because it's been true for my own family as well. I lost a grandchild with a genetic disease. And in the last 6 months, I lost an aunt who was like a sister to me with a rapidly progressive form of lung cancer, and my mother who had dementia, which was unresponsive to any treatment. So there's a lot of work we all need to do together. The few. This is my view. There are a relatively small number of medical school classes in the United States or even the world that have your ability and the available resources to become the next generation of brilliant physicians, transformative scientists, and leaders that will shape the future of medical education, biomedical research, and the delivery of high-quality care to all Americans. Class of 2022, there's only 140 of you. Yet there are so many patients in our local community, our city, our country, and our world that are going to need you. For me, it brings to mind, and I love quotes, as people know, it brings to mind the famous Winston Churchill speech to the House of Commons on August 20th, 1940, during the Battle of Britain, when he referred to the Royal Air Force in the following way: "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." The pilots who fought in that battle have become known as the few ever since. So you are going to be the few who must change the face of medicine. There aren't that many of you in the United States, and there are a lot of patients in the United States and around the world. What does it mean to become a physician? As you train to become an outstanding physician, I suggest you keep in mind the 5 pillars of practice that was articulated by a legendary cardiologist at Mass General, Roman DeSantis. There's one common thread that links these 5 pillars, and that is the singular importance of the patient, the man, the woman, the girl, the boy that has entrusted you with their care and offered their lives. So the first pillar is that the patient should always come first in the life of the doctor. And second, in any situation at any time, you should weigh all the information that you have in hand to try to help and do what's best for your patient. And the third pillar is to follow the golden rule as it applies to the practice of medicine. And that is, the patient should be managed in the way the doctor or a member of his or her family would like to be treated, as if he or her were the patient in that bed at that time. You should be a friend to your patient as well as a caregiver, and always demonstrate your humanity with honesty, sincerity, and empathy. As Peabody suggested, one of the central qualities for clinicians is an interest in humanity, for the secret of the care of the patient is in caring for the patient. You should never forget that the beauty and essence of medicine still lies in the personal and precious interactions between us and the patients that we serve. Now, some of you are going to become transformative scientists. And to do that, you're going to have to be bold. You're going to have to challenge convention. You're going to have to take risk and learn from failure. And your goal, like the goal of the scientists at Mount Sinai, is to make discoveries that allow those that die today to live tomorrow. Leadership. Many of you are going to become the next generation of leaders of medicine. And one question is, what will it take to become a leader of the next generation of physicians and scientists? Do the times make the leader, or does the leader shape the times? How can a leader infuse people's lives with a sense of purpose and meaning? Resilience and powerful emotional intelligence is the foundation of great leadership. If you couple these traits with empathy and humility, self-awareness and self-discipline, and generosity of spirit, you can become a transformative leader. Let me talk a little bit about what life as a physician and scientist will be. There is no doubt that becoming a physician is stressful. Patients will come to you during crisis in their lives and ask you for answers. And sometimes those answers are not forthcoming. You will be expected to stitch up, both mentally and physically, the victims of adversity. And you will be the one that is expected to make sacrifices when hard times fall on your own life. Family members will look to you as a pillar of strength. Yes, being a doctor is tough. But let me be among the first to tell you how rewarding it can be. And as a scientist, will you have the creativity and intelligence to come up with ideas that nobody else has thought of? That's not easy. But Mount Sinai students and Mount Sinai faculty, they write the textbooks. They come up with new knowledge. And when your greatest insights are first ridiculed and then violently opposed, and that happens in science, you must never give up and arrive at the point when that all truths pass, and that is universal acceptance. It is a fact today that too few patients are being cured. Sometimes, though, you will save a person's life. And some of you will make a discovery that will help many, if not millions, of lives. Granted, you're coming into medicine expecting such moments to be more frequent than they actually are. But these moments do exist. They are not a myth. It will happen. I want to talk a moment about self-compassion. You're going to face some dark days. We all do as physicians and scientists. It is important that you recognize the power of self-compassion. When you experience a setback, there is a tendency to become defensive, blame yourself, or berate yourself. That is not helpful. Instead, respond with self-compassion. And we'll help you with this. You should be kind to yourself rather than judgmental. We all make mistakes. Don't avoid dwelling on the setback. It will contribute to your personal growth, both professionally and personally. And finally, Ken mentioned this too, we dare you to become great. That's our expectation, that you don't become good doctors or good scientists, that you become great doctors and great scientists to change medicine. Now, as I conclude, it occurs to me that my remarks may be somewhat overwhelming, given that you've only been here a few weeks. So I have another quote. This actually was President Kennedy's favorite quote. And it was from a Breton fisherman who said, "O God, thy sea is so great, and my boat is so small. Thy sea is so great, thy boat is so small." So it may feel that way at times, but we're going to be there to help you navigate this sea. And I'll say another quote that is a favorite of mine, and I'm sure a favorite of many in the audience. And this comes from Theodore Roosevelt, who said during a speech called Citizenship of the Republic, which he delivered in Paris, France on April 23rd, 1910. It's called the person or man in the arena, or woman in the arena. The credit belongs to the man or woman who's actually in the arena, and you will be in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, and spends himself or herself in a worthy cause, who at best, if he or she wins, knows the thrills of high achievement, and if he or she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his or her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. So we expect you to push the envelope, to think thoughts that have not been thought before, to go beyond what is normal in helping your patients. Finally, class of 2022, let us start today to begin the work you have come here to do, to learn, to listen carefully, but to ask new questions and challenge, to see with new eyes, and most of all, when you leave this hall today, have a commitment in your hearts and minds to build a new future that will improve the health and well-being of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Charney, Dr. Davis, and Mr. May. I want to take a moment to recognize the Mount Sinai Alumni Association for their extraordinary support of our students that is ongoing and for supporting the White Coat ceremony every year. Not only does the Alumni Association contribute to making the ceremony possible, individual alumni continue to sponsor the purchase of our students' stethoscopes, white coats, and for the first time this year, your otoscopes and ophthalmoscopes. So if you're a family member in the audience and you have a chief complaint and you expect your son or daughter to examine you at some point soon, you'll have to wait till next week. That's when they'll have the full set. They still won't know how to use them, but they'll have the full set. So please join me in thanking the Alumni Association and its members for their incredible generosity.
Good afternoon. I'm Pete Gliotto. I'm the Senior Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education and Student Affairs, and it's my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker for the White Coat ceremony. As part of the 50th anniversary of the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, we are pleased to inaugurate the first annual Hans Popper, MD, PhD, keynote speaker. Dr. Hans Popper was a world-renowned pathologist, hepatologist, and academic leader who was pivotal in creating and founding our school and served as its inaugural dean and later president. So beloved and admired was Dr. Popper as an educator, he gave the first lecture to students in each incoming class from the founding of the school in 1968 until his passing in 1988. We are happy to celebrate Dr. Popper's legacy by having Dr. Pooja Mehta as the first Hans Popper, MD, PhD keynote speaker at our White Coat ceremony. A few words about Dr. Mehta. She is an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology at the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center at New Orleans School of Medicine and of health policy and systems management in the School of Public Health. As director of maternal and women's health policy at the new Consortium for Health Transformation, she is part of a partnership with the Louisiana Department of Health to evaluate how healthcare works and can be improved, advising Louisiana policymakers on changes that advance health and equity. In this role, she serves as the medical director for the Louisiana Perinatal Quality Collaborative and Pregnancy-Associated Mortality Review, and is currently serving as the interim medical director. Dr. Mehta grew up in the United Kingdom, India, and New York, and received her undergraduate education from Columbia. She's a graduate of our medical school, and then she completed her residency training in obstetrics and gynecology at Boston University Medical Center. After residency, she was a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Clinical Scholar at the University of Pennsylvania. She later returned to Boston University as faculty in obstetrics and gynecology before relocating more recently to New Orleans. She is a practicing general obstetrician and gynecologist, passionate about working with communities to address social determinants of health and those with complex and critical needs. On a personal note, I recall working with Dr. Mehta when she was a fourth-year student at a clinical service for the uninsured called EHOP, as you heard about. I remember her being so adept at gynecological care, I was frankly relieved, because as an internist, I hadn't really done much gynecological care in about 10 years. And I was also equally impressed by her dedication to the care of the underserved and her absolute compassion with patients. So please welcome me in joining Dr. Mehta.
Hi, good evening. I know you must be so ready to put on your coats, so I'm just going to be as brief as I can, but also take advantage of this moment. To the Mount Sinai School of Medicine class of 2022, it's so wonderful to meet you right now. Thank you to the Popper family, and thank you to the deans and the faculty here at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine for welcoming me and for allowing me to bear witness to this really important milestone in your lives. So let's take a deep breath together and appreciate all the work and dedication and all the talent and the discipline that has led you to this beginning. I heard yesterday that you've already been at Sinai for 5 weeks. I know that you have already started exploring the beautiful geography of the human body in the anatomy lab, which I personally struggled with, but welcome to that. I know that you have been exploring the beautiful geography of this city, which is my hometown. If you didn't already know, this is the best city in the world, so welcome. How many of you are visiting New York from somewhere else for this event? I'm just curious. Wonderful. Welcome to New York. So today, to the class of 2022, you are participating in a relatively new tradition that was intended to honor but also disrupt a relatively old profession. You are here to pause during the routine ramp-up of an academic year, to reflect, and to honor the values that guide our profession. But this tradition of the white coat ceremony is also intended to disrupt the past by asserting that the process you are about to begin is, in fact, a big deal, and it is certainly not an entitlement. You are now being called upon to be a better and more reflective and more critically thinking person more of the time than you were before, because of the place of privilege that you will occupy in society, the place of privilege that has been carved out for you as a physician. This tradition of a white coat ceremony is also intended to assert the following: that you will not have to go through this transition alone, that the same people who got you here today will continue on this journey with you. Some of them are here in this room, so let's take a moment to have you, the class of 2022, thank those that have supported you thus far, whether they're here or not, with a round of applause. We also assert that you will care for and support each other, and that we will care for you and support you, no matter who you are, no matter how hard or how easy it was for you to get here. So what's about to happen right now? In case you didn't get the memo, you are going to put on a coat today. And when you wear it, you will look different to yourself. You will look different to others. For some of you, you will have anticipated this moment, and it will make you very excited, and it will embolden you. For others, you will feel extremely uncomfortable. For all of you, this coat is going to get very filthy over the next 4 years. It will not remain cleaner or purer just because it's white. It is what we would call a fomite, and if you don't know what that is, you can look it up on your phone. In part because you will probably not wash it very often, maybe never. And I do advise that you never ever wear this coat for that reason while you're eating. Please don't do that. Anyway, if parts of the ceremony feel uncomfortable, that's okay. That's good. You don't have to feel ready right now for this. Today starts a 4 to 5 year journey. If you're an MD PhD, it might be a 10 to 15 year journey of earning the privilege of wearing this coat. You will learn how the human body works. You will learn how lots of diseases work. You will learn that there's a lot we don't know about a lot of other diseases. And you will only barely start to scratch the surface of learning how healing works. My journey, like yours, started at Sinai. I don't think Dean Charney wants to hear this, but it was the only medical school I got into. That was because I came here through the Humanities and Medicine program. That's what it was called then. Now it's the FlexMed program. And the white coat that I received in this room 14 years ago initially made me very, 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 very uncomfortable. I put it on and I felt like a total imposter. I struggled with whether I wanted to do this. I questioned myself daily. I watched classmates I loved and cared for struggle too, and a few of them ended up returning their coats. My Sinai mentors and guides, my friends and my family who are painfully aware of how hard this was for me, and some of whom are here today and know who they are, patiently gave counsel as I questioned whether I wanted to work from the place of immense privilege that this coat and this profession grant. At times, I found myself hating the same esteemed profession to which my own wise grandparents had belonged and to which my dear parents who are here today still belong. It was a profession responsible for so much good, but also with a shadow side: complacency, exclusion, attachment to power and self-preservation, resistance to change, and reinforcement of the status quo. Here in East Harlem, for example, as a medical student, I learned about Dr. J. Marion Sims, an obstetrician gynecologist who experimented on Black slave women without anesthetizing them. I learned about Dr. Sims not from a book, not from a lecture, but from a statue that stood honoring him right outside our Mount Sinai doors. And because of the activism of students like you, partnered with communities here in New York, that statue has been removed. And let's give a round of applause for that. That statue has been removed, yet I know from my training, which was in history, that medicine and public health have often been tied to social control and oppression, especially for women, in places like India, where I'm from, and in places like the United States, where I am also from. Now I know that my process of questioning, I was questioning, those first 2 years of medical school, that process was okay, and that process was really, really important. I found my way through the programs here, through mentorship here, through the Center for Multicultural and Community Affairs, through EHOP. Eventually, I found my way because of my patients, and I remember so many of them by name that I met in this building, that I met at Elmhurst in Queens. And I found my way through, unexpectedly, the operating room, where I discovered my love of surgery, and the delivery room, where I discovered my love of bearing witness to childbirth. This time here was just one very long moment on an even longer journey, and a very lucky journey, from Mount Sinai to South Africa, where I spent a year off from medical school, and it's okay to do that, just letting you know, to India and Nepal, to Boston and Philadelphia, and now to Louisiana. And I just want to say that that little job description that's in the pamphlet is not exactly accurate, so I would like you to rip out that page and destroy it so my boss doesn't find it. I do not work in Pennsylvania, I work in Louisiana. And I know Rachel Levine, so we really have to remove that line. Today I live in New Orleans, and New Orleans is the other best city in the world, where I practice full spectrum obstetrics and gynecology. I teach medical students and residents, and I'm the director of women's health policy and the interim Medicaid medical director for the State Department of Health. During a time of profound change and excitement and difficulty for our state of Louisiana, and also, I would say, for our nation. How did I get there? I'm really not quite sure. I always thought that I would practice outside the country. I thought that that was the highest way to give service when I was a medical student here, was to leave the United States and work somewhere else. But something changed for me in hospitals like Elmhurst, where I rotated as a medical student, and Boston Medical Center, where I did my residency training. One particular woman I'm going to tell you about, I'll call her Sadie, comes to mind for me today. Like many individuals I've cared for, Sadie left a piece of her story with me, and she has taught me what it means and does not mean to heal. I met her when I was a chief resident. By that point, I felt pretty confident and comfortable in my white coat. I met Sadie during her first pregnancy because she came to our hospital emergency room a few times a week. During the pregnancy alone, she came to the hospital a total of 27 times. She had sickle cell anemia, opioid dependence, severe mental illness. She had a tough family situation, and she desperately wanted a child of her own at the age of 18 to make her family situation right. Sometimes she came for food, sometimes she came for company, and sometimes she came because her thin body was very fragile, racked with blood clots, pain crises, and recurrent infections. Sadie was also really funny, and she was really endearing, and she was extremely smart. She knew more about medicine than many of our medical students and interns. And finally, she was definitely someone that we in this esteemed medical profession, including me, had labeled years ago a, quote, difficult patient. On one occasion, after a tense negotiation in our emergency obstetric triage area, Sadie, demanding pain medication and reporting irritation from the antibiotics that were flowing through her veins, ripped out her IV and walked out of the hospital. When I realized she had left against medical advice, I flew down the hallway, down the elevator, out the emergency room doors by the ambulance bay, following a trail of blood that she had left from her bleeding IV site as she had stalked out the door. I was enraged. I no longer felt in control of this woman's care. I had been doing my best, and I was in charge of her care that night. I found Sadie sitting on the curb outside the hospital in the cold rain. "What are you doing?" I demanded. "You have to come back inside. You are very, very sick. You can't be here." Sadie just looked at me coolly. "Everyone is trying to help," she said, "but no one is listening. You think you get me, but you don't." We sat on the curb shivering, both of us coatless, trying to find words. We ultimately talked for a while, but Sadie did not come back to the hospital that night. She died a few months later, leaving behind a beautiful baby, and of course, all of us as well, trying to understand what we could have done better for her. On that night, Sadie led me out of the hospital. In the years that followed, she led me to study the paradox of how someone could come to a hospital over and over and over again during a pregnancy and still not have their needs met, and still experience a totally catastrophic and preventable outcome. Sadie led me to Louisiana, where I now am working at the state level to study maternal death and the underlying challenges that face women of reproductive age, queer folks, and gender nonconforming and trans individuals, right here in the United States, as they, or we, seek self-determination and health. In this work, we have found that Black women in Louisiana are 4 times more likely to die than white women during childbirth. We have found that almost half of the deaths that we see in childbirth in the US South are preventable. And we have discovered that we cannot impact those outcomes without radical and thoughtful transformation that begins with meeting people at the curb. To do this work, I put my white coat on occasion. I use it to talk mostly to other doctors, to legislators and policymakers, and to share stories like that of Sadie. The type of stories that those who are not providers simply do not hear on a daily basis. We are using these stories and these experiences to build a new and innovative health system right here in the United States, in a place that frankly feels nothing like where I grew up, here in New York. We are looking to change the way that we build hospitals, that we pay providers, and what we pay for and why. We are using these stories to defend, and we are defending every day, the right of the poor to care in this country. To do this work outside of those spaces, I don't wear a white coat anymore. I simply cannot approach the communities that I seek to understand and support with a white coat on. In Louisiana, a place with longstanding distrust of health systems, a place ravaged by natural disasters and flawed leadership, in order to truly advance health, empowerment, and understand where women are coming from, I have to approach those I care for and work with simply as myself. As the oath of Maimonides that I took 14 years ago in this room states, as a fellow creature in pain. So, all this to say, this journey has given me all the tools that I need to do the work. And I use every tool that I have ever been given on a daily basis, and I know that that itself is a privilege that I'm grateful for. The white coat is just one of those tools, along with the scalpel, the stethoscope, and the pen. You will have all the tools you need when you leave here to question, to think critically, to evaluate evidence, to advance evidence-based policy, to work in the hospital, and to do the most important work outside the hospital. So put the white coat on today. Earn the privilege that it will bestow. Use every drop of the privilege it gives you to speak your truth and the truth of those you care for. Use the privilege in the hospital, but most importantly, use your white coat privilege with your legislators. Use it as you vote. Use it with your peers when you sense injustice or something that just doesn't make sense. Use it as you create the world around you that allows you to truly be a healer. And don't wait too long to practice taking off your white coat. Remember, especially when you eat. Don't wait too long to learn how to intentionally divest from your privilege in order to meet the people and communities you care for right where they are. Sit on the curb with them. Talk about the hard things. Be a fellow creature in pain. And see what happens next. I, for one, can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to see the world that we are going to create together and the ways that we are going to heal together. And I just want to thank you for your first collective act, which is this beautiful oath that you can read in this pamphlet. I heard yesterday that you wrote this oath together, and I was blown away. I cannot wait to take this oath with you because it spoke to me so deeply. So thank you for your first collective act, and I know that many more will come. I just also want to give my total love and appreciation to my family and friends. My mom is sitting right here, my dad. And my best friend. And I just want to say that I didn't ever sense that it was going to be hard for me to be a woman of color in medicine until the moment that I entered the American medical establishment, because my grandmother and my mom are both amazing physicians, and I'm so proud to be following in their footsteps. So thank you to my family and friends, thank you to your family and friends, and congratulations, and I think we gotta get this show on the road.
Thank you, Dr. Mato. I now have the pleasure of introducing our faculty advisors from the Department of Medical Education who will be coding the class of 2022. Our faculty advisors serve as teachers and mentors for our students, helping them to achieve milestones and providing encouragement and support throughout a student's time here at Sinai. They are all physicians who exemplify outstanding teaching and clinical care. I'm going to call their names in a second. First, I just want to give some instructions about how the coding is going to work. Students, we're going to call your names in 10 groups of 10. As you're called, please come up on the stage here, face the audience, and then you will be coded by the faculty advisor behind you. Audience, please hold your applause till the full 10 students have been coded, and then students exit to this side. It is now my pleasure to introduce this year's roster reader, Dr. Rina Karani, who is the Senior Associate Dean for Undergraduate Medical Education and Curricular Affairs. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Karani. I forgot to introduce the advisors. So the advisors, please come up as I call your names. Dr. Carolyn Cromwell, Dr. Lanre Dokun, Dr. Monica Dweck, Dr. Sharon Edwards, Dr. Ali Galt, Dr. Meredith Grossman, Dr. Alicia Hurtado, Dr. Craig Katz, Dr. Roberto Posada, and Dr. Talia Swartz.
Welcome to the class of 2022. It is truly an honor to be part of this special ceremony. Please note that I will be reading each student's preferred name, which may differ from that which is in the program. It is my pleasure to now begin calling the class of 2022. Uwana Abbasi, Saloni Agrawal, Sophia Asanuddin, Kelvin Kweku Ampen Darko, Emily Bachner, Japjot Kaur Bal, Mitadi Balev, Hannah Jensen Barnes, Rebecca Barron, Lucia Betterson. By the third round, okay. Priyanka Bodu, Biobele Kristen Braid, Jason Brody, Mariela Cabrera, Alexandra Donchak Capolini, Matthew Chalman, Julia Cheng, Kevin Chung, Kenny Chin, Sula Rebecca Choi. Mimi Chung, Peter Cook, Ariel Coughlin, Jessica Crowley, Brandon Dale, Joshua Dan, Priya Dave, Theodore Di Pauli von Treuheim, Nicholas Dreyer, Alexandra McClure Dunn. Axel Yannick Epier, John Henry Erdman III, Christopher Ferries, Ariella Farzan Niku, Thomas Featherston, Matthew Eric Fine, Rebecca Fisher, Justin Frere, Gabriella Fred, Shlomo Friedman. Daniel Jeremy Fulop, Erica Glazer, Brandon Gold, Joseph Hahn, Theodore Hanna, Daniel Peter Hennick, Lisa Hurt, Jeff Huang, Chioma Iwalumau, Suraj Jaladanki. Stephanie Jung, Deanna Lisa Jones, Derek Cow, Arjun Kapoor, Alexander Carroll, Sophia Karwaska Kliegler, Sarah Kiani, Jin Sung Kim, Zainab Kiyam, Akio Kozada. Arvind Kumar, Alex Kuo, Margarita Labkovich, Mukanga Marcia Longe, Jun Yup Lee, Tin Ted Giao Leong, Matthew Liebers, Tiffany Lim, Matthew Lin, Adam Marks. Samuel Merrin, Kelsey Martin, Tyler Martinson, George Slade Melgard, Alexander Meschel, Jacob Robert Morey, Claire Morley, Alberto Muniz Rodriguez, Devika Natkarni, Roshan Nayak. Omar Edward Njaye, Danielle Novak, Ted Obi, David Oktu, Samuel O, Ross O'Hagan, Oluwa Feyikeme Okome, Ogechukwu Anu, Femi Oyewole, Ishan Pranjape. Andrew Pastor, Ashay Patel, Parth Patel, Kevin Paul, Samantha Platt, Natalie Plick, Sonia Prasad, Cassandra Pruitt, Jake Raydell, Daniel Ranty. Ivy Wren, Jacqueline Marie Roig, Haley Ronk, John Rutland, Alexandra Sali, Trey Schwartz, Alex Serafini, Dhruv Shankar, Himanshu Sharma, Jeremy Sherman. Jennifer Schmuckler, Alina Siddiqui, Cleo Sidorides, Sheena Singh, Ganesh Sivakumar, Charlotte Samson, Emily Spira, Maya Lakshmi Srinivasan, Anna Stacy, Mary Sun. Lily Tang, Amir Turi, Serena Therakin, Michelle Tong, Jessica Tran, Michelle Tran, Ali Al-Amin Valiani, Ruben Daria Vega Perez, Dylan Villavisanis, Vivek Vishwanath. Andrew Warburton, Kristen Watkins, Baggio Williams, Matthew Williams, Dean Weissman, Chitampali Yashaswini, Nicole Zatorsky, Lawrence Zeldin, Serena Zheng, Kimia Ziad Kanpur. I'm going to hang tight till the individual photographs are taken, so hang tight. So congratulations, class of 2022. At this time, I ask that you could stand as a class and be applauded in your new white coats. And once again, like Dr. Mehta did, let's applaud your family, parents, friends who have helped you. Wonderful. I now have the pleasure and privilege to present Dr. Lisa Island, Assistant Professor of Pediatrics, who will administer the student oath, followed by the faculty pledge. Dr. Island.
Congratulations to the class of 2022. We are now entering into the 7th year of a budding Mount Sinai tradition, asking our first-year medical students to join together to draft and ratify their own student oath. Through this process, our students were given the opportunity to establish, commit to, and share the professional ideas that will govern their time at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai and beyond. Last week, in their Art and Science of Medicine course, 18 groups of students each generated what they held to be their most important ideal as they embark on their medical education and career. Representatives from each of these groups then worked with my colleague, Dr. Craig Katz, to combine these 18 ideals into the oath you are about to hear. I now ask that the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, class of 2022, stand and join me as we recite your student oath. Your oath is within the program. However, we've noted that the last line was not there. So let us begin. We, the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, class of 2022, recognize our privilege and responsibility as future physicians and so pledge to care for our own emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being and encourage our colleagues to do the same, to consciously promote diversity and inclusion as activists and advocates for equitable care and shared well-being, to not only be healers, but also educators committed to empowering our patients to be agents of their own care, to respect and collaborate with the entire healthcare team, recognizing our limits and their strengths, to acknowledge and appraise tradition and not be afraid to change it, to be lifelong learners dedicated to furthering public knowledge through research and innovation, to provide non-judgmental, thoughtful, and personalized care with the highest level of integrity, to protect against harm, bias, and injustice, and above all, to always be guided by compassion for our patients and love for our profession. Thank you. You may be seated. I now ask all faculty members of the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai to stand and join me in the faculty pledge. As teachers and mentors for our students, we pledge to maintain the highest professional standard in all our interactions with students, patients, colleagues, and staff. We pledge our utmost effort to ensure that all components of the educational program for students will be of the highest quality. We will respect all students as individuals without regard to gender, race, national origin, religion, or sexual orientation. We will not tolerate anyone who manifests disrespect or who expresses biased attitudes towards any student. We will not tolerate any abuse or exploitation of students. In an effort to nurture personal development, we pledge that students will have adequate time for reflection as well as personal and family obligations. In nurturing both the intellectual and professional development of our students, we will celebrate achievement of academic excellence and demonstration of the highest virtues of our profession. Please be seated.
So in conclusion, We want to thank the Department of Medical Education staff for all their hard work and assistance in organizing today's festivities, and of course the Alumni Association for their ongoing support. We invite all of you to attend a reception that's going to be held outside in the Guggenheim Pavilion, which is across the lobby from here, past the Starbucks by the Fifth Avenue entrance. Students, please remember to pick up your stethoscopes at the reception. They'll be distributed by the Office of Alumni Development near the Fifth Avenue entrance. You'll see the desk there. You'll be presented with your otoscopes and ophthalmoscope sets next week at a special event in the student lounge. Please remain seated until the platform party has exited the auditorium. And I ask that the class of 2022 remain seated for a group photo before you exit the auditorium. The 21st Annual Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai White Coat Ceremony is now concluded. Thank you and congratulations.